Life is a garden, and we are all gardeners. Today is a extra special podcast day for me because I am here with one of my soul sister mates. We have been connected for 36 years, and we've worked together. We started doing catalogs and advertising and lots of beautiful editorial stuff. And then it turned into all kinds of spirituality and deep conversations and hysterical laughter. And we realized after 36 years of having this kind of friendship that we have something very unique together. This is my friend. Her name is Melissa, and I call her Mimsy. And Mimsy and I have created something together called a Creationship. It feels like a lifetime friendship that started by working together and creating together, and then turned into a fabulous relationship that we have coined Creationship. In fact, we feel so good about it that we're writing a book about it. But first, we're going to talk about how we met each other and how this beautiful Creationship came to light. And I'm just going to start by saying I've always been a creative person. And when you are lucky enough to find somebody that you can create with that creates and sees something the same way you do, you're already in a whole different place. So Mimms and I had that so much together that when I went to meet her husband, so let me start with, I started as a stylist. I was a stylist in Miami doing advertising and photo shoots. And Mimms's husband was a photographer. Mimms is also a photographer, but her husband was a photographer, and somebody told me to go and meet him. So I went to meet him, and as soon as I met him, I realized, I don't know if this man will understand me. He was a little different than me, khakis and, short hair and topsiders. And I just was like a whole different person. 2 minutes into our conversation, he said, I think I'm going to send you in the other room so you can meet my wife. And so her and I met, and the minute we met, we both realized there's something here. So I am going to turn it over to Mimsy to she'll tell her side on what it was like to meet with me, and then we'll take it from there. So Mimms, 37 years ago,
Yeah.
I think you just told me.
I can remember it clear as a bell.
Do.
I remember, so I had this little teeny Joe, my ex-husband, set me up in a little corner office. He had a whole, nice room to himself. And anyway, I had my little corner office, and I hear him say, you need to meet my wife. And you come around the corner, and you've got this adorable, you're in this cool little plaid mini skirt, and your crazy hair is just like it is now. And your vibe it was so energetic when you came around the corner. And I could tell you were into fashion, and Joe was not into fashion.
Right.
So I immediately said, yeah, I showed you my portfolio, and I looked at your portfolio, and I had a job really soon. And I actually was needing a stylist for it. So I decided right there, I'm going to give her that magazine job. It was a job for Sunshine Magazine. It was actually a great concept. It was all these high-end designers back then. There was Armani and Versace.
Kenzo. I remember Kenzo.
It was all, yeah. And the story was, I think it was called Baby Bloom, because all the high-end designers were doing this kids couture. And so I was like, here, I wanted to give it to you, and I did. And but I just remember back to that day, definitely knowing this, I want to work with her. We'll be perfect. So Joe, we have to give kudos to Joe, my ex, for
One of the best things he
for
ever did.
knowing like that these, but we didn't have any idea that really we didn't. I knew that I thought this is what, this will be great. So let me go right to the shoot. The shoot was incredible. It was the beginning of that little shorthand we had with each other.
What does that mean?
Of I could say I want this to have like a, I want her to look like a little Betsy Johnson. The nice thing was, she, Blassie, you had a deep fashion knowledge. Not everyone could you say make it Betsy Johnson meets, Giorgio St. Angelo back in the day. You knew exactly what that meant. So we had a real shorthand, and usually you would even talk. I'd say let's this, and you'd get it, and then you'd do something on top of it that would make it even better. And our shoots were joyful.
Ugh.
The sets were always so much fun, and I think that was our beginning of really the kids' work. That was
Right.
kids, so that was the first shoot we did together, and we really got known in Miami for our kids' work. We did lots, but we definitely had a thing. I thought we brought our story ideas to kids.
Right. I would say what you and I have together that makes it so special is a very whimsical vibe.
Yeah.
And she had that when I met her. And I looked at her book and I was like, okay, these are my kind of photos. This is the kind of things I want to be involved in. I had not done that before. It was back 36 years ago. In fact, Mimms just told me that Sunshine magazine came out 37 years.
It was August 7, 1988.
Okay. That is amazing because Mimms and I are putting our book together, which
Yeah.
we'll talk about. And that book is coming out August 8th, 2024.
Right.
So it has been, was we say 37?
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
don't ask either one of us to do math.
Yeah.
We're too creative.
But whatever
to do math.
88 from 2024
Yeah,
is, that's how
right. I
long
think it's
we
like, yeah.
have discovered that what we do together is something that we both really are into. So flip to, we did that together, and then we just started working together doing catalogs and on jobs that weren't as creative, but we did a lot of work together. And then we decided after that first photo shoot with all those beautiful designer clothes that we wanted to do something, and it was called testing.
Well, I think we just had ideas.
Right.
One thing we always had, I always say we were like tennis ball machine. We would just
Lob them out to each
lob
other.
the ideas out. So we would just do them for ourselves. And you're right, it was
Right, it was called testing. So we weren't doing it to make money, we were doing it to grow our portfolio. And everything we did, so we would do these fabulous photo shoots, and then Mimms would take them another layer.
Yeah.
She would take all these beautiful pictures, and
And this was analog days, remember? So
she wasn't computerized.
there was no digital. Everything I'd cut up the contact sheets or
Right,
whatever.
and doodle all over them.
Yeah.
And make these little funky, they were just crazy good.
Yeah.
And we always were making these postcards.
Right.
And we were both going to New York to try to get jobs.
I sent out postcards constantly. I
Me
did
too.
a lot of promotion, and so we can talk about that for sure. That I know I heard from you, and I heard from other people. They would walk into Bloomingdale's or another like Vanity Fair, and there was the postcard, and they'd be like, these two women in Miami are doing this work. So it was really it was really great feedback.
It was
from our
great
work.
feedback. And I worked with other photographers, and they always said, like, the stuff that you're doing with Mimms is just so different. Plus, I knew right then and there, when you're doing something that really speaks to your soul, it's a different feeling.
Yeah.
When you are, it's kind of like answering a calling. Because I've worked much of my career with all kinds of people that was a job.
Right.
Got lovely crew, lovely
Right.
people, but I wasn't at home thinking, oh my God, you know what we're going to do next? Ever.
Right.
So when
Right.
I met Mims and we started working this way, it wasn't really like a girlfriend.
No, we weren't. We were just we were friendly, definitely, but we weren't deep. We didn't know that very much deeply about each
No.
other. We were just very surface, but the connection, which is so cool, was really creatively.
Right. So
Yeah.
everything we did came from this creative place. And I had never really had a friendship like it wasn't even a friendship. Like I said, I'd never had a connection with anyone like that. I've always been very creative. I've come from a creative family, basically, but it wasn't this kind that was like a soulful connection.
Right.
So it also now many years later, and we both have. So anyway, we did all this together, and we had fabulous. We did beautiful things
Yeah.
together, and then life, kind of got in the way, and I started having babies. Mims was traveling. We were both in Miami. We left Florida. She also left Florida, and years went by. Really, years went by.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember first hearing from you. I was in Atlanta, and you gave me a call. And I maybe I had reached out to you for
It was
whatever,
10, 12
but I
years, though, later.
right. It
Right.
was a good bit later, and I was miserable in Atlanta.
And I
Wanting
was going through a divorce.
didn't know where my next step was going to be. Well, I had moved back to Atlanta where I grew up, and knew I just wanted to get out. And where did I want to go? Didn't want to go back to Miami, and I was really kind of thinking about California. Did not know you were divorced.
And living in California.
Well, I knew you were living in California,
Oh,
but I didn't know you were. I didn't know you guys were divorced. I just thought you were. Everything was the same old, same old. So we started talking. So
right.
that was the first kind of dialoguing of like, hey, just as old friends.
Right. It
And
was different that time. Now we weren't talking about photo shoots and
right,
creativity.
right.
Now it was like, I'm getting divorced. She was divorced. I was heartbroken, but I liked California a lot. She was coming to California. I was like, you know what? I think we should revisit this. Plus, whenever we're together and even talking, there was always like a next level.
We did, yes. Yes, absolutely. We always had that. I call it shorthand.
Yeah. I love that you call it shorthand because what we had was we could just talk a little bit about whatever and it would take us to
Yeah,
wherever we needed to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
So we decided we'd made a plan and we were going to visit with each other. It had been years, literally, since we saw each other and we both had, our lives had changed so much. I wasn't working anymore as a stylist. I had already started doing gardening. And we made a plan and she had moved to Oxnard, near
Oxnard,
Ventura.
Shore, yeah, Oxnard Shores.
Right, and I was living in Los Angeles. And so we made a plan that I was going to go and spend the weekend.
We're going to talk about the lead up to it when I'm cleaning and I smell smoke, right?
So I go to visit. I'm going to visit with her, and she calls me. And what happened? Like, what
So I'm
happened?
cleaning that, it's been a long time since I've seen her. I'm very excited to see her. I'm cleaning the house. Now, this condo I was renting, I'd never smoked there. I'd never smelled smoke in it. I mean, it's on the beach. The doors are open. There's breezes. All of a sudden, I smell smoke, like really distinctive smoke. And I'd been thinking about you, and like, of course, I'm thinking like, what can we shoot together? And you were doing the pillows, so I knew you were doing she was doing these great green grassy pillows, and I thought maybe we'll shoot her in a green dress. And I'm thinking about this when I'm cleaning, what before you get there, and really strong smoke, and I think you called me about then. And I'm saying, and your typical Mimsy, what's happening? Mims, what's going on? And I'm like, I smell really strong smoke. And then you tell me about your mom with the smoke.
Right. And I said, my mom follows me. She had been dead for many years. Mims has met my mom, though.
Yeah, I loved her mom.
Right.
Her mom would come, has been on some of our photo shoots.
Right,
So it was
right,
great. Yeah,
right.
I definitely loved your mom.
Which is where I got my fashion sense from.
Yeah,
So
she
my
was
mom
so
was
cool.
so into creativity,
Yeah.
and she was into what Mims and I were doing. It was cool. Plus, she saw me like feeling like this is so amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I go, it's my mom. She's come to your house. And she'd already been dead years. And I was like, she always does that. She knows that I'm coming.
I'm telling
So
you.
we started talking about that, and she was like, wow, I think you're right. So that conversation and my mom coming ahead of me had kind of opened the door
Yeah. It definitely did. It
To like,
did.
we can talk. There's like things here that are deep and meaningful that her and I hadn't really had that kind of friendship, that
No.
we even talked about that, nor was I really too over the top. Like now, switch to 30 years later, I mean, there's no question that the dead's all over around us, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. But you know what? Life had beaten us up a little bit by
Both of
then.
us.
Both of us. We'd been beaten up a little bit by life, and it happens as you age.
Right.
And we'd lost parent, and we'd
Right.
lost the parents
Right.
then. So
So I go there. We, like I said, we hadn't seen each other in a long time. We did not miss one beat.
it was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so
The
cool.
minute we saw each other, we had so much to talk about. We already started talking about creating.
Yeah.
I had remembered what a good feeling it was to be around you, you know, and just to be like, this is like soulful
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, at that moment, like, I need to be around things that are soulful to me.
Yeah.
So we
Absolutely.
spent the weekend. Oh my God, we laughed our asses off. And we talked about all kinds of things, including creative things. But it was
With
more,
a
it was,
spiritual vibe
yeah,
to it.
it was deeper.
Much deeper spirituality. We never had gone that deep
Right,
before.
right. And we just started talking about her childhood, my childhood, hours of this like chatting about deepness. So that lasted the weekend, and it was crazy good.
Yeah.
And I started telling her, like she said, life had beaten us both up. I was divorced. I had sadness, you know, just all kinds of life sadness got me. And so we started chatting about that. And right then and there, she said, you know, I want to tell you something that I see in you, you know. And she was mirroring to me
Ah, the first
the
mirroring.
first mirror
Okay.
that, like, I've known you this many years, and I think you maybe are a little hard on yourself or whatever it was. It
Yeah.
was like the way I see it, you know, I haven't seen you in years and you're still this creative girl. And I was like, really? Is that the way you see it? And it felt so good to hear it, you know, because at that time I was getting a divorce. My kid was in a load of trouble. I felt like nothing was working. And she had, you know, reaffirmed to me. And when she said it, I literally heard it through her eyes. So at that time, after that conversation and that weekend, we realized, like, we have something here that needs to be poked around. Like, there's something between us.
Well, it was so natural. I mean, it was. I think you realized it before I. I just felt like I was just. It was so natural and intuitive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think I was conscious of it was being.
Yeah, I
a
think I was
creation.
conscious of it just because I had suffered for the last few
Yeah,
months, you
yeah.
know? And for the first time, it felt like something had been lifted off of me. And I was like, this is where I need to be. And I had also, everything came flooding back to me, like how creative and how good I always felt when we worked together. So after that weekend, we said, let's do something together. Let's do something creative. And she had said to me, you know, I keep seeing you. I want to take pictures of you in a green dress. And I was like, really?
Yeah, I definitely. We still haven't done that green dress, actually.
Yeah, we did. The witch hat.
Aversion.
The
but
aversion.
that one-
Anyway, she said, you know, I think it's your mom. I think your mom is saying something to
I
us.
felt that. I definitely felt that.
And I was like, wow, I think my mom maybe is saying something to us.
And
Anyway,
it was photographing you because we had already photographed a kid,
Right.
somebody else. So I was saying, no, you're supposed to be in front of the camera.
and I was like, what?
And
What are you
she was-
talking about?
Yeah, absolutely said that.
And she kept on with that.
I was sure I was getting that sort of message like, no, you're supposed to photograph her.
And I thought, what in the world would I ever be photographed for? I've never wanted to be that girl. I hate pictures of myself. And, you know, she's like, no, I think we should do that. So she did. She took some pictures and they were so good. You know, first of all, I hate pictures of myself too. I never. It's like answering machine. You hear your voice, you're like, who the hell is that?
Right. Well,
So, but these pictures were so like, wow. And I knew that was the way she saw me, and she captured me in a way that was like, you know, and then at the time in the Facebook, I put it out and everybody was like, oh my God, you look so good. And I thought, damn, I think this might be it, you know, not me, but whatever it was working. And so we went that route. And then we started calling each other on the regular with our own like little life stories.
Right.
She'd call me, something doesn't feel right
Right.
today.
Right.
And I'd call her and say, and then we started mirroring to each other. She told me a story about that she was feeling, and I said, let me mirror to you. I've known you like years. Whatever you're thinking, I don't see it that way.
Right. Right. Should we tell them like what? Should we do a definition of
Okay,
mirror?
so we're going to go backwards, but we're first going to say after all of this time and layers of a friendship and a working together and the time, the hours that we had put into working together and talking about and the creativity that we had. So it was another time I was visiting maybe, and we started talking about this and we decided we wanted to write a book together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
That we had all these pictures. She had saved everything. And that we said, you know what, this relationship that's based on creativity is something very unique. And we came up with the term creationship. And we said, we're going to write a book on what it means to be in creationship. So you tell me what you think is the definition of creationship.
Yeah. I think creationship is any kind of relationship that really is uplifting at its core to the other, and transforming. That's the basis of it. And it's so nice if you can layer in creative work in there, great, but you don't even have to.
Right.
It's really, at its core, the essence of creationship is uplifting another.
Right. And the reason I think what I love about the creative part of it is, like she said, you don't have to be so creative to have a creationship, but you have to have a creative mind.
Well, the essence of creationship, it's creative in the entity of it.
The end.
Because you're creating, hopefully for that other soul, is creating a greater, they're creating a greater essence of themselves.
Right.
Through this relationship.
Right. And the mirroring part that came out of creationship, I've also realized is, you see me for who I am with a very clean and open heart.
Right.
I see you for who you are with a clean and open heart. And we can say to each other with no judgment, no nothing, like, you know what? I don't think that's the way you really want to be doing that.
Right, right. That I think that an agreement of like clear seeing with each other, and with I would say without an agenda, maybe. I don't know if that's the right way to
yes.
term it, but knowing that you want the well-being. It's all for something greater.
Right. And I know you always have me in mind. You know what I mean? When we're talking, whatever, I always have you in mind if I'm talking. If I'm going to say anything, it's never going to be something like, what the hell?
Right. It's definitely, there's no bringing down, there's no shaming. It's really, at the basis, we were there to help each other. We're here to help each other.
Right.
But we did it in such a creative way.
Yeah, because we've both had this creativity, but what we've come from, so it's been like 10 years since we're back on our game.
Yeah.
And since we've decided we're going to do this, and so when our book idea came up and we realized what we have going, we realized like how much we have both grown from having this creationship.
Huge.
We both have been through, lots. I'm going to only
Still
speak
going
from,
through lots.
exactly. Life hands you a shit sandwich.
It's an ongoing.
And you need someone to be like, you know what? That shit sandwich, if you layer in a couple of pieces of lettuce and a tomato and maybe some mustard, might be quite tasty.
Yeah, right. Let's just flip that sandwich.
And so we've really come that way with each other. I mean, it's huge. So I went through some really hard times that I didn't even want to tell anyone about. And when I told it to Mimsy, she was like, wait a minute, let me just tell you what I see. I was broken, literally broken. And she walked me off of a ledge that, not actually, I wasn't going to jump off of a ledge, but I felt like I was falling off of a ledge for much of this time. And we talked every day about this and
Yeah.
about whatever we needed to. And I found my way off that ledge. I literally found my way and found a way to realize like there's no reason to even be on a ledge.
Right.
And so it's been a while since we've done this. We've been doing
Well,
this.
we haven't had ledges lately.
No, we haven't had ledges. And we wanted to call them, for the sake of our book, we called them potholes.
Yeah.
Because we both, as all of us can, we fall into these potholes. Sometimes it's really difficult to get out of them.
But they can become a portal.
But we flipped those potholes and they've become portals for us, which is another chapter in our book.
Chapter 4.
Chapter 4, there you have it. So we have learned to live this creative life, and with us too, it is creative. I mean, she lives in Ventura, I come up here, and we can spend the weekend literally creating.
Yeah, it's great. It's so good.
It's like a dose of medicine. But as she said before, and as I keep saying as well, you don't have to create something to have a creationship.
Yeah, I think the essence is, that everyone's going to have a unique form, little recipe on what their creationship is. But we're going to lay out in our book, here are the elements. Here are the 8 kind of concepts of it.
Do you want to say what those 8 chapters? Do you?
Sure, time put in. It's number 1.
Check.
Layers.
Check.
Time put in layers. Blessings.
Yeah, blessings, which are blessings from lessons.
Right. Potholes to portals.
We love those.
All right, you take the next 4.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Wait, hold on.
That's okay. Garden your life.
Oh, yeah, garden your life. How could I
We
forget
had to
that
do
one?
that one.
Right.
Garden your life, divine abodes, and living in the 8.
Living in the 8.
And so we'll talk more about living in the 8, like on another podcast, maybe to get deeper in the book.
Right.
But yeah, we came up with these creative chapter
Right,
concepts and
right.
what really has been our elements of our
Creationship, right. And not only that, her and I both have really delved deep into spirituality. And everything we do, every conversation we have, I would say, is steeped in spirituality.
Seems like it. It does. I mean,
Yeah.
we love it. It's just who we are.
Right,
It's
right.
not, we don't have to work at, it's just, we work at it, but it's just who we are. We're naturally drawn to it.
And what I love about it the most is, especially with girls, sometimes girls can get together, get a little catty, gossip. We never have that.
We don't do that.
No,
It's just
we do
our-
not do that.
not our
We have
thing.
literally based this entire creationship on love, spirituality, mirroring, which is another thing I want to really say about mirroring. It was a savior to me. And I realized, like, nobody would go and get dressed and put on eyeliner or shave their face or put on mascara without looking in a mirror, because you couldn't. The lipstick's over here, you're shaving the wrong, you might have shaved your eyebrow off without even, everybody needs a mirror.
Really do.
So when you have a mirror that's a person that can talk back to you, not just see, because sometimes in a real mirror, you're not seeing the whole picture.
Because we all have mirrors have blind spots. We've got blind spots.
Right. So with a true friend and a person on the other side of that mirror to be like, no, that lipstick is up by your nose, girlfriend. It really does make a difference. So I feel like I can't say enough to people out in the world, find yourself a mirror.
Yeah.
Find yourself a human mirror,
Yeah.
somebody that has your back, that will be able to say, no, not even that doesn't look good, the back of your hair is a rat's nest. No, it's more like, you know what? I see the way you're talking to your whatever.
Right.
Maybe you want to lighten that up.
Right,
Or
right.
are you mad today because you're looking a little aggressive here,
Right. No, that is key. It's absolutely key.
To be able to see somebody for who they are and not be like, what the hell's matter with you?
No, with loving kindness.
Loving kindness.
But and to have the relationship where you're not afraid to share what's happening.
Right.
you
I could
know?
say to her anything. I wouldn't even feel judged. I mean, She knows my deepest sad
No.
stories, and there's
And
never
and
been like I'm ashamed of myself.
yeah, and the same. So and I think going through the world with that is so key and can be so transformative.
Right. And I
So,
also think part of what made this so important too is that we both decided we wanted to transform.
yeah.
You know,
Two
we
Capricorns.
two Capricorns moving a goats uphill, but when you make a decision that you want to change your life, and you really say, I'm, you know, because I've made decisions, I want to do things, and 3 weeks later, I'm back to doing what I was doing. But when you
Right.
have somebody
Pothole.
that, yeah, a pothole that you keep falling into,
Somebody can say, there's your pothole.
right, right. Or why don't we plug that pothole up,
Right,
girlfriend? Because that's
right,
the fifth time I've seen you
right.
take a
It's
dip
time
in
for you
there.
to, yeah.
So I feel like those are so many important and amazing, you know, things that, besides being a wonderful friend, has helped me in my
Yeah.
own life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I didn't even know that was a pothole that I kept tripping into.
Yeah. We just can't see. I
Right.
can't. I cannot see. I really need your set of eyes to give me like feedback.
And I feel like that another, I mean, that's a good garden thing too. Like if you don't take care of your garden and check on it regularly and see what's eating at it and make sure you're connected to what it's doing, it will go off on its own and do its own
Absolutely.
thing.
Absolutely.
When you are in a creationship, somebody is there watching you bloom, you know,
Yeah.
and helping you bloom. Like, you know what, I think that might stunt your growth if you do that or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Well said.
So thank you. So I feel like we have something so delightful planned for our future. And for Mimms and I, because we're both in our 60s, 60 is the new 40. We have,
I just say let 60 be the 60.
well, I think she, of course, let 60, Miss 60, be Miss 60.
No, but
But you're
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a different energy, though. You know, I don't know. I've seen many 60-year-old turn 60 and get old and fall apart.
Right,
When
right.
you have somebody that keeps their eye with you and on you, and you want to keep growing, you're not falling apart.
Well, I think one of the greatest things you could achieve in life is to grow. All the way to the end.
Agreed.
All the way. I'm like to be like, damn, I'm better than I was the day before.
Oh my God.
What's
And
better than that?
what is better than that? And to be able to talk to each other and say, like, you know what, yesterday I had such a rough day. I'm so grateful today's a new day.
Right.
You know, and we can share that. Or I'm having a bad day and she'll say something like, the good news is tomorrow's a new day.
Right, right.
It's like, oh yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. I'm going to lose sight of this,
Right,
you know?
right.
So it's just such a lovely, it's given me like a whole new lease on life.
Yeah, me too. I know I just would be lost without it.
Right,
And so that's why we want to share it.
right. And how much we've both healed from it. Because we both have had our own struggles forever, since
Oh,
birth.
God, yeah.
You know, we both came from a little bit of
Little
sticky
bit of
families.
yeah, a little bit of
and
crazy in the back.
a little bit
yeah.
of crazy, a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But it's such a beautiful way to grow old, actually.
It's a creative way to live.
And all I said, and I keep saying, is like, I want to live a creative life.
Yeah. There's nothing better.
There is nothing better. So when you have a creationship, you can live a creative life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's lovely. And like, I want to say this again too. It doesn't necessarily, I mean, Mimms and I together, we have all these checklists with the time put in, 37 years. It's like an athlete, he doesn't just become an athlete
Right.
overnight.
Yeah.
It takes a
Right.
shit ton of hard work.
See all the
to do that.
butterflies?
I
Just
did.
saying, I knew we'd get some signs today.
Yeah, we love our signs
Right.
too. But anything you want really bad, you have to work for.
Yeah, well, we are workers. We do like to work, like a good Capricorn.
Yeah, like all good Capricorns
Yeah.
do. We do. We can be goats going uphill too. Sometimes
Hanging out in the treetops.
yeah, hanging out at the treetops. Definitely love that. So we have traveled together, and that was completely
Yeah, a lot.
creative.
Yeah.
Those are always creative trips, and I just feel like it gives me really a lot of joy to look forward to actually getting older.
Like, I totally agree. It makes 60 plus, like all these things we can do. It's so exciting
It is.
versus like, oh my God,
What am
what
I
do I
going to do?
do
Get
now?
old.
Right.
I mean, and she lives in one city. I live in another city. We definitely both have our own. I have a job. She's doing her own thing. But we can always come together, and it's always creative.
Yeah.
And we can come together in a way to see like what this future will hold for us. I mean, we never know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I know for sure I will be getting older in a very creative way.
Yeah, me too. Me too. What's better than that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, so I just feel like we have lots to share. We have lots to say. Stay tuned because we're going to do workshops as well.
Yep.
And we'll keep talking about our book that's not out until August. Do you want to show? Or we not?
Well,
Yeah,
just a
we already.
quick-
She made a prototype because that's who she is. It's
Yes,
gorgeous.
But
And-
yeah, we just like to keep it close.
The
It'll-
Bible.
When it's published, it's going to be, I hope it's just the gift it's been to us.
Right,
What we're,
right.
You know.
Another good part of Creationship that I want to share that we've been doing, and I might have talked a little bit about it, but it's so important, is flipping it.
Oh, and
Yeah.
what do we
So
give?
the back side of our book, you can flip it just like you can with every situation. You can flip it, and things shift.
Shift
It
it
goes
for us.
from a shit show to a shift show.
Right.
You can process it, you can flip it, you can shift it, you can process it, and you can transform it. These are all
We've done
things.
it.
We've done it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
we
life
do
in motion.
We do embody everything that's in this book, which
Right,
is great.
right. Which made it really a lot easier to talk about things when you're living them,
Yeah.
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 So neither of us can hide from a bad day.
Why anymore? There's not even a need to. It's so much better just to say,
I'm
this-
having a bad
this
day.
Yeah.
This was a bad day.
Feels like a shit show today.
Yeah. Or another thing that we can both do is like, you know what? I'm just going to hang up the phone and I'm going to sit in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm going to sit in my bad mood.
Yeah, because this isn't just saying like it's not everything is rosy. We do love rose-colored glasses, but it's not
I
saying
like yellow too.
right. Yeah, it's very real. This is doing the hard work, but in
Yeah.
a very creative way.
That's it. I mean, there is no shortcuts.
Yeah.
We might have shorthand, but there is no shortcuts. We work hard on this all the
Yeah.
time. And the other thing that I love that we do is we have little assignments together that we
Yeah.
do. I mean, it was
Yeah.
for the book, but it's like, let's today write about, childhood, or
Yeah.
let's today write a note to our moms that are both dead.
Right. Right.
You
And then
know?
we share with each other, and that has been so cool.
Yeah.
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 A lot of journaling we do.
A lot of journaling. Our creationship is based lots on journaling, lots on spirituality, not
yeah.
journalism. But these are things that have healed
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
And what I also think the keys to all of this is coming from a very soulful place. And I
Yeah.
love anything that comes from a soulful place.
Me too. Cheers to that.
Cheers to soulfulness. So this has been a fabulous moment in time. Stay tuned because there'll be a load more moments in time. But it's a really beautiful, healing, and important concept. And know that you heard it here for the first time. Creationship.
Good one.
Beautiful friendship. On fire with creativity.
Living in the 8.
Living in the 8. Okay. Did we miss anything important? Do you want to ask us something that we can answer?
Yeah, what are each of you tell me what your favorite chapter is,
Okay.
or the one that had the most impact on you?
Oh, that's a good one.
He always asks questions.
Mirroring.
Yeah.
Mirroring's so important. So, let me see. Let me remember.
I'd have to kind of agree with the mirroring just because
Well,
I think it's so
yeah.
important too. But I love the potholes to portals too. That's like shifting things and flipping them. Going from like you could have fallen in and gotten lost to like this. I fell into something so magical that I thought was horrid. That's a portal from a
Right.
pothole.
Well, it's good too because we know each other's potholes.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, you're going down that. That's a little. At least the pothole's not so deep now.
Yeah.
It's a
But
small-
she can point them out to me in a minute, like, really? Are you going to go down that road? And I was like, really? Does it look like this? Well, could be a bit
Right.
of a pothole waiting for you, Alicia.
Right, right. So,
I'd say that, yeah, those are two of my favorites. I love Living in
Same.
the Eight, too. Living in the Eight, which we'll talk more about, is like a realm above the normal living up in here. And we both love to live up
mystical.
in here.
I call it mystical. Kind of, they're everyday miracles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is true, you know, because every day is a miracle. I mean, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh my God, you won't believe what happened to me. It's just a miracle that it was a perfect day, like, you know.
I think a lot of times it's paying attention. That's part of it. Living in the
Consciousness.
eight is, paying close attention. So you notice the miracles.
Right, right. And then they're not even really miracles. They're just like another fabulous day, you know, and that is what I'm working towards, that every day is a flippin' miracle,
Yeah.
you know, and those are like, yeah, today was crazy good.
Yeah.
Like I dropped my hearing aids in a giant cup of coffee, and they work better than they worked before I dropped them into the
Yeah.
coffee.
That's living in the eight.
That's living in the eights, folks.
Yeah.
What's another one?
In your time working together, are there some moments that stand out as like a real creative success for your creation?
Oh my God. Motown.
Yeah,
Are you
I'd say
kidding?
Motown was a good. We did a lot of witchy stuff, which we've been doing since the beginning of time. Magic and witchy, which is
Right,
our total
right.
story still. We've done a few good ones actually with that kind of stuff. Was yours sticking out as the Motown?
Motown kids. I grew up in Atlanta. She grew up in Detroit, and I love. I mean, who doesn't love Motown? So I think I came to you with that, so I said, why don't we do like little kids, like dressed up like Aretha Franklin, James Brown, and I've never seen you go so over what was expected. You pulled the sequin dresses, the wigs. You got the microphones. I mean, you had it down.
And we did it. We did it in
And
the theater.
we did it you got the Sunrise Musical Theater for us. We booked the best kids. Were awesome.
I mean, just was like a miniature Diana Ross.
We had them like doing like the whole, stuff in the
Stop.
nail. It was epic, and I don't think I've ever been happier on a photo shoot. I can tell you.
Yeah,
for
we've
sure.
had fun ones though. We've really had fun
That
ones. Another
was-
one that I can remember is we had like this 90-year-old woman with no teeth. And we had a
She had the mirror.
ball.
Speaking of mirror,
Oh yeah,
but she was looking in the mirror too. Oh yeah, and then she had the
a ball like one
the
of those
fortune
shaky
teller
balls.
ball.
What do you
yeah,
call
yeah.
them?
Yeah, we did it like a fortune teller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was magical.
Yeah.
Whoa, it's windy over here in Kentucky.
Yeah, it'll whip up out of nowhere.
But what I love most about our shoots and how I knew this was different is the energy afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, when you do something you love and then afterwards it's like, oh my God, that was so good.
Yeah.
And we just do that. We'd be on the phone after we'd been shooting all day, like, oh my God, can you believe how good this was?
And there would always be something really funny happen too. Okay, I just had a memory. The little girl, remember we did the little redhead story? All those
The
little
families,
redheaded
yeah,
kids.
yeah.
And one little girl, she, I don't know, we let her put some lipstick on like she was at a picnic. And she's like, and you did it, you said it great. She said, I get to wear lipstick. It was my birthday yet. I mean, there was always some funny kid thing.
And the moms were really
happening.
cool too, actually. We've
There
met a
was some
few
pretty
good moms
wild
because
moms
yeah,
in there too.
of course.
But yeah, it was great.
Yeah, those were good. Those were so good.
I think we were entertaining to the moms
The
and
whole
the
group.
kids.
Yeah, exactly. Who are you
Yeah.
kidding?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a sign of a good creationship?
Yes. Yes. What I think another good sign of a creationship is when people leave and say, that felt so good to be around that
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the pictures and please call us again to work
It's
with you
really
guys.
true. That's so true because I heard clients would say, they would really recognize we got it in two levels. We got it in the people felt good after
The
working with
models.
us, the after effect, and then the work. It was
Yeah.
there, so we got to
Yeah.
have it on two
Yeah, I would
levels.
say yes. That was from the beginning of time. What we were
Yeah,
creating
yeah.
was really good back in the
And
day.
it was lighthearted, I would say.
Whimsical.
Because, Miami in the day was very, the macho man photographers, very serious about what they were doing, right?
Very serious about their Sears catalogs.
That was just not what we were about.
Right. It is true. I mean, that was another thing that we definitely took it serious, but there
Well,
was
we were-
always some fun.
Right.
to
I
it.
mean, we did take our work very, definitely we did. I'm just saying we were lighthearted
Yeah, no.
on the set.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like her and I have the license to talk about creationship. I feel like we have earned this title. Granted, we made the title for ourselves, but we put in the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
We've done work. We really work hard at
Still.
just growing.
And being, keeping things current and on ball and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
For somebody looking for a collaborative recreationship, do you have any recommendations? Are there things to look for? Ways to cultivate it?
Good question.
I would start by saying it has to be somebody that you have time put in with. I mean, it doesn't have to be a 30-year-old friendship, but it has to be somebody that you're comfortable because you know them enough that no matter what you did or said, it wouldn't be like, what the hell? So that's the first thing. The second thing is like-mindedness. Like-mindedness is a key.
Well, I agree because I think not everyone's going to have the luxury of having time put in. So I think like I said that day, the first time I met you, that intuitive vibration that there's some like-mindedness here.
Right. I mean, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
If the energy is there and you know it, I guess you don't need to have lots of time.
Because you're going to have to take a chance and see and create together, and then just see.
Right. But you don't have to come out with a finished project. This is our art project. It can be the kind of feeling, like I said, you just like, that was so good today. That I went to bed feeling so happy. And I even have like a beautiful hangover for the next day. That's how you're living in the eights. You're creating with the spiritual, soulful, these things that stick. If it's a one-hit wonder, how good is it?
Right. You do have to, it has to be time put in on some level. You're right.
I mean, it doesn't have to be,
But-
like I said, years, but it wouldn't. I mean, I actually think Mimms and I have talked about Zach and I. We work together. We're
I
on
think
our
you guys
second
have
year
a
together.
relationship. I think for sure. Absolutely.
He knows how I already
got time
think. He
put
can
in.
write things with my thinking. I'm very comfortable to say whatever I want to you. I don't think I'll ever hurt your feelings if I say I didn't like that or whatever. He knows I'm not going to be coming. True?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I would say that's a creationship in the making. I mean, 2 years. I could literally come up
You're
with.
just a baby creationship
Yeah.
right now.
It is, and it's fabulous. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're lucky enough to have a
Yeah.
creationship, you're the luckiest person in the world.
I think so.
But I also think if you're conscious enough to say, I want that, you're even a luckier person.
There you go.
know? Yeah.
That's the key line right there.
Yeah, you got to know that this is what I want. I want to be able to create with someone. Like I said, it doesn't have to be art projects. Just to be able to have this talk. We can talk together, her and I. I don't have to explain anything. Anything I would say to you, I think you'd be like, I hear what you're saying. You might ask a few questions, but I know you'd understand me.
Absolutely. I was going to say you'd have to explain a math equation.
That's
to
why
me,
we don't
but
talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that at all. In fact, we out each other, though. I got to say this with each other because we both have a little bit of, I wouldn't want to call it lazy or
Oh,
procrastination,
God. The
but
things we
around
don't-
our money.
Yeah, the things we don't want to deal with,
Yeah.
we just don't want to deal with.
The things we want to deal with, we shine at. The things we don't want to deal with,
But we
pothole. Throw that in the old pothole.
But that's part of creationship too, is to own, like, just share it with each other. Like,
Yeah, like I didn't pay my taxes on times, and I knew I should have. She's called me 5 times.
Right.
Some things you don't want to tell that to anybody. It's like ashamed. Like, how the hell did that happen to me?
Because we kind of laugh that we don't have any shame with each other because we both have the same issue.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so lovely to be able to say, like, I forgot to call and cancel something, and they came to my house, and I had to pay for it because I'm such a boob.
Right.
You know, I sometimes you don't want to tell that to anyone. You keep that your own dirty secret. First thing I do is like, oh my God, you're not even gonna flip and believe what I just did. And she's like, yeah, I would. Of course I would. I did it the day before.
Yeah.
It's really true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun.
It is fun.
It's really fun. It seems like you guys are in sync.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
we
really
are.
do. I believe that's what it is. You know, as similar as we grew up, you know, we're so different. We come from totally different places in the world, and our parents were, you know, hers were that, mine were this. I'm Jewish, had this whole different kind of upbringing. There's not been a beat missing.
Yeah.
And now, you know, she knows my whole family and my sisters. We've turned this
Yeah.
creationship into family.
Yeah, we've really worked. Yeah, we worked hard at it.
But it's in sync, you know, and even if we don't think the same or agree on something, we can still be in sync on it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I loved what you said, is that the best thing to do is to seek a creationship and to be conscious enough to know, wow, this is something I want to seek for my life. That
Right,
is
right.
some wisdom.
And it's so
We
true.
kind of happened. Ours happened. It just happened.
Right, right.
But now we can tell people, like, this is what
This is what happened.
you can have,
Right.
and how important.
And the other thing I really like about it too that I want to point out, you know, sometimes you will meet like a person, usually, you know, it's a person that your heart maybe feels a little like fluffy about, whatever. And that's one kind of love. And then you will meet somebody that's like, this person speaks my language, no matter what it is. And that's a different kind of love, but a love, you
Right,
know?
right.
So I think on one level, it's very soulmate-ish too.
Right, right. Didn't we have a word we were going to put in our creationary?
Yeah, wait, it came into my brain and
We
I was
talked
thinking
about it last weekend. It's something mate.
Oh, yeah, that's
Create
right.
mate.
What was it?
Create
mate.
mate.
Yeah, and
But
I
we
said it
weren't
sounded
really
like
sure.
a cooler.
Yeah, I think we can work. We're going to work on that.
Yeah, but it is
But that
somebody that
vibe.
you know. I mean, there are the times you meet, like, for me, it would be a man, you know, that I feel like, wow, I have like this crush on this person. I feel so good when
Yeah.
I'm around them. And Mimms and I have that, but on a different level, you know. Whenever I mean, I spent the weekend here last weekend. I left and I felt like so good.
Yeah, me too. We're just on with our creativity. It's always energizing. It's always juicy.
It
Yeah.
feels like a hole.
Yeah. Now, if there was well, I won't even go down that one.
What?
Like a guy, if
Well,
you could
yeah.
meet a guy that also could, but no, that's a whole.
That's a whole different one.
subject.
Yeah.
But
That's a whole different day, discussion, and matter.
it's a different podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do feel like when you do seek it, if you do find it, you will know about it because it feels.
It's so important.
Yeah,
That's all I can. I mean, it's so important.
Right.
Yeah. All right. We good?
I don't have any other questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I feel good. I mean, I feel like we got everything that we wanted to talk about, right? Where's my piece of paper? Let me see.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, no. I said everything I wanted to. And on that note,
We even flashed the book.
yep. Okay, I love that. I feel so good.
Is it okay?
No, it's good.
Yeah.
You maybe want to say a little goodbye?
Yeah.
A little sign off?
All right.
Leave the people with a message.
Yeah. So, and in closing, I just want to say that this is such a huge part of my life and that has helped me grow old gracefully, face my demons gracefully,
Yeah.
and realize that nothing is really ever too anything. It's never
Yeah.
too horrible. It should never be too fabulous. It's just good, and you can ride a wave without having to dump like this or go up like this. You can just kind of like go along and it feels lovely. So I'm so grateful for this. And I just can't say enough that Creationship is a relationship that everybody should look into finding, because when you create, you come to life.
You elevate.
You elevate, you transform, and you are alive. And you will know that no matter what you're doing. If you're creating something, regardless of what it is, if it's a spreadsheet as an accountant and it feels right, you got it.
Yeah.
If it's, a nurse that figured out how to make the rounds and it feels right, you got it. And I think that's what this is. If you feel it, do it.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Thanks, Blassie.
Yep. Thank you, Mimsy. Cheers
right.
to all kinds of goodness
All
coming
right.
our way. Let it roll, baby.
Yeah.